welcome to the Ask a CISSP podcast. So this is the Thursday episode of The Other Side of the Firewall, where we talk about the latest and greatest of cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. I have on the show today Mark Christian, and we have a mutual friend, right? So Kane McGladry introduced us and said we should have a conversation. So I was like, hey, if you're a friend of Kane, you're a friend of mine, right? That guy
Absolutely.
is super cool. And yeah, I just want to have a conversation to see who you are, and then go from there. Any initiatives and things that you have. But
awesome, I really appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. crazy long introduction there. Yeah, absolutely. For a legend like Kane, it's really nice to have that kind of friendship and connection because, again, as I kind of already alluded to, when you have those types of friends, you just know that you're already in the presence of really genuine people.
Yeah, definitely. So we've had Kane on twice, and then I also met him. There was a summit going on in Orlando, so I was like, since he's West Coast guy, right? I was like, you're so close, I'd stop by and talk to you and whatnot. So we filmed like a YouTube short there. But yeah, he was in a kilt. So as we were walking the floor, everyone actually had to, ask him questions about his kilt.
I have the courage now. I finally purchased kilts, and now
really?
I got to resize them. But I've worn my kilt out a few times because I finally have the courage due to Kane.
Got you. All right. I'm not there.
Hey, it is very excellent. It goes with some of the woodworking stuff that I do. And it kind of went, okay, I'm going to do this oddity. I'm going to pretend to be, a little bit Scottish, Irish, got a kilt. I'm doing woodworking, make it silly as can be, but also a lot of, exotic woods and stuff.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it just lends to a really fun and freeing time because you can get utility kilts and all of a sudden everything that you want is functionally there, and it's even better than cargo shorts.
Yeah, I bet. It definitely air conditioning is included, right?
Yes, precisely.
Yeah. So when I was in Germany, I always picked up a pair of lederhosen.
Nice. Okay.
I was close, and I was like, I'm never going to wear these.
There's some awesome German places, like authentic German places around in the Dallas area where you can go and you'd fit right in, obviously, but also you'd probably be welcomed in as family. They've got beer gardens. You can get the mug on the wall and everything.
Okay. Yeah. That's my trips to Germany definitely put me on the beer, like Crystalweizen, Hefeweizen. Like those are definitely some of my favorites. It's like drinking a loaf of bread.
Yeah. So
my
German beers are way better. If I was ever introduced to beers in, the German way, I'd probably actually like beer today. I've tried it. I've tried some of the craft beers. I'm okay with it. But kind of like Kane and, is doing the beer stuff. He's pushing through because it's funny. And that's even better because, he's more for the wines and the liquors like me.
Right.
But their beers, again, just delicious stuff. Went over there and also they ordered some of the beers and yeah, it's a different environment completely.
Yeah. If I'm ever in the Dallas area, I definitely will check it out because I'm a big fan. Yeah, when I say my condition is that I don't run a 5K every other day, right? When I was on active duty, it was like, let's go out, have some drinks, and then wake up and run, miles and miles. I don't do it anymore, so that weight just will stay with me.
Yeah, I noticed that as I started to, and after I got out of the military, and I went, okay, yeah, this isn't so good. Maybe I need to really cut down. So I started getting out and doing a little bit more. It's working. So my doctor told me to get in shape. Round is a shape. They didn't pass geometry, obviously.
Round is a shape. So we touched on a few aspects of your background. So where are you from? And kind of walk us through your cybersecurity origin story. Like how'd you come to the dark side?
Yeah, so it's been crazy. When I first started into, the big boy life, I was in the military as a computer programmer. And in the Air Force, to be a computer programmer, you have to go through something called an EDPT, a logic-based computer programming type acceptance test. And I always thought that was really interesting personally. I said, you're going through and not determining whether somebody's going to be enjoying their job, but whether they will be good at it. So in order to validate this, they said, you as a programmer will not be successful. We've lots of metrics on this. I'm positive they won't release a lot of them, but you can see it. as to why, if you do not have appropriate logic, you will not be a good programmer. Okay, now that connects the dots. So if you don't pass this test, then you won't be a programmer. Well, that also gives you a little bit of confidence, if you know how the military works, that you're not going to get washed out through basic training if you passed that test and you're not a complete terrible person.
Gotcha.
Awesome. You're a locked in job because that's a really, really difficult thing to change up. Well, given that that is my career trajectory, launched into you have logic, and now you are going to learn how to program. Okay, cool. Military 6 years in says, hey, we're not doing programmers anymore. We found out that we're ending that program and we're going to do them all as contractors. So we want you to go into security forces. I'm pretty sure I don't want to do that, but thank you. I'll go ahead and get out now. I've got my bachelor's degree and 6 years as a computer programmer in the Air Force. Pretty well armed here. Launched into, well, a dead industry, the financials.
Gotcha.
And said trying to be a programmer in the financial industry is ugly. It's definitely not going to escalate me. Went and said, what's going to really help? And I got hooked with Kane and Centrify, this new technology that's blocking authentication, at a layer that you should be blocking at. Wait a minute, isn't that already present? Like, I thought that was an expectation when you worked in Linux, when you had this, and I'm in the military and I got in trouble for plugging in a mouse into the computer. I had to go through training because that mouse, by golly, was a Logitech mouse. And because it had an onboard memory of your DPI, that counted as something that you are now going to have to go through training to go, you're a bad person. That was in 2005. I go, how is this not a standard across our industry?
Right.
And it's still not today in a lot of places. And so, well, that launched the really big dive into more cyber, more protection, more understanding, and going, why is our industry the way it is? And I've gone through quite a few different companies. Last one broke down authentication at the Active Directory layer. So now I have a really crazy but complete picture of authentication as it goes from not just Active Directory, your profile being stored in a computer and what it has access to, but now your identity when it gets to your SAML, your OAuth, your cloud layer, and when it's protected or rather not protected by entities that are replicating information up there, or how they're replicating that and why that's bad, or your firewalls and what those do for you. And now you get to this really insane layer where I have completely redone my network at the house to be enterprise grade because I have a server rack sitting in the basement so that I can try and replicate what a customer sees.
Right.
Because again, now that I have to know all of these things as this cybersecurity person, I've built out an infrastructure that says, I am doing what you're doing. I am experiencing what you're experiencing. So now I can help you and really, really effectively. So,
Okay. So
yeah.
let's unpack some of this because there's a lot of really good information. Your 6 years Air Force. I assume you went through what am I trying to say? Technical training. There you go. I only been out for 2 years. I'm already dumping stuff at Keesler. Was it Keesler?
I did, yes.
Okay, so you guys were in Triangle as well. So
Yep.
yeah, so I'm a 2E2 was my original. So data maintenance, and then that transformed into picking up telephones and crypto and
Okay,
switching
yeah.
and routing, and finally we settled on cyber transport is what we currently are. So switching
Random, do you
archives.
know this? Are they putting all of that transitioned into Space Force now, or is that still Air Force?
So my we call for the audience AFSCs, right? Air Force Specialty Codes. It's still Air Force. So
Okay, yeah.
some of my colleagues though did go the Space Force route, right? They had open enrollment because it's easier to stand up a force when you just take people from another force as opposed to
Absolutely.
like so the pipelines are open now where you have people who actually are enlisted and come into the Space Force. But the original 2 years, I think that was what 20 the end of 2020 is when they stood up. Like 2021 is when they started to really vacuum, so to speak, people in. So a lot of those people came from Hyde, right out of Hyde. So a lot of them were our cyber transport and other IT SATCOM guys and HF guys and gals and what have you. So it was an easy transition, right? And now the pipeline's open. You're getting a bunch of brand new guardians who are coming in. But I say I'd say so. Right, you're a Keesler. You guys' test school is very long, from my understanding.
I
Um,
don't genuinely remember, but yeah, it was a
remember,
long
yeah,
while.
I remember you guys being in the triangle for a while. We call it a triangle for those who are listening because it was the shape of a triangle, right? I was the 2E2s and what have you were at the very edge of that place, and
Yep.
then as you worked your way in, you had your logistics people, you had your weather, you had your programmers. This is all early 2000s. I'm sure it's a lot different now.
I'm
Um,
positive it is. Yeah.
yeah, because
At the time I went through, they even had part of the Marines coming in
yes,
and
they had
doing
the
cross
Marine
training
Corps.
with
Yep.
us.
Hmm.
Okay. Yep.
Yep. Yep. I remember that. Because I went through in 2003, so that's when I came into the Air Force.
Okay. You were right there with me. So I was at the end of 2003. I had joined where it's basically called 2004 in my mind, but it wasn't. 2004, I was officially coming in really, and then got to my first base. I think it was 9 months in or something. Yeah, it was really
Something like that.
long.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know you guys were there for a while. So the Air Force did do that transformation, right? It was pretty much like, yeah, either you're gonna do a different job or you're gonna get out. So you chose, like, okay, I'll take my skills with me. You see
Yep.
my dog walk by if you're watching the video. It's a wild day today. So
Hey, my Golden's downstairs. He's too puppyish right now, and we're getting that too puppy phase, and I'm not at risk to let him out
right.
yet.
Got you, got you. So you come out and you said you hit the financial sector. So, and when I think financial sector and I think programming, I think cobots. So is that what you tried to
You're
do?
not wrong. I'm not talking Cobalt, but we're talking something that dead.
Right.
There's a company called Argo Data Resource Corporation. If you ever want to do some background, even if you go to my profile, I've got most of the places that I've worked with. So they have a product currently that is supposed to be new, and a lot of customers are supposed to be on it. And yet, oldest version of the product is version 2.4, and that's currently the product that Bank of America has deployed in their environment. And it's the only version of that product that exists because Bank of America won't upgrade because it's too costly. And we're talking version 7, 8, 9, who knows anymore. The version that I I think that, was it five or six? They still had an 8.3 character limitation. So when you're talking 8.3, hold on. Your file names, everything that you ever did in your system, your extensions, your variable names, or anything had to be 8 characters long, and only that because you had to save those .3 for the extensions.
Got you. So yeah,
And that was a product in 2010.
yeah, it always baffled me because I saw that there was not a big influx of people. There's a big ask for people who knew Cobalt and other, I won't call them dead languages because somebody still
It,
speaks them, but
well, there's so much
but
that's
not
built on it.
not alive. So like they're charging six figures to come in here and help you out, right?
Absolutely.
Because no one knows
Because
this language anymore. Like,
Well, that and genuinely, let's be real with them. Who the hell wants to go in and do that when they're retired at that point?
right,
Hey,
right,
I haven't done this in 10 years. I'm going to have to go relearn it myself because realistically, 10 years in, I forgot a lot of things and I go look it up. I'll get it quickly. And then I'm going to have to figure out what the problem was. And then I'm actually going to have to go through all of whatever your, I guess, red tapes are to fix it. And then I finally get to fix it, something that could have taken simple. Well, no wonder you want 6 figures and more. I'm retired. I want to play too.
right. Right. So, and then from there is when you decided to make that pivot. So was it an easy transition with your background, or was it more of out of curiosity? Like what drove you to say, "Hey, I want to do cyber
Yeah, it's a
instead?"
really, really odd one based on a decision that I didn't know that I wanted to make that ended up being good. As I was going through the military and getting my bachelor's degree, I said, I want something in computer programmer. I nerd. I want to do this forever. Code. And I didn't have quite the understanding that there was a lot more beyond computers and code and money. So, okay, what does that mean? And the military really helped me to get the understanding of that. But the bachelor's degree that I had was not present in the location that I was, Wichita Falls, Texas. Shepherd Air Force Base was not the place I wanted to be to start off. But okay, I was there and no real degree towards programmers. But they did have occupational education and a specialization in computer information systems. And I said, sure, it's a bachelor's and it's got computers in it. Well, when I went into training in the financial programming, because I wasn't going to do real programming in it, but I was also going to train it. I said,
Okay.
this is dead end. I'm going to take the ability for me to train and do anything that I want and use that with the cyber side when I met Kane. And great, learned all about Centrify, what I needed to do, and how to train it, and really elevated the product, the program that we had. All of the consultants, it was really awesome. Kane worked hard on this, okay? And I tried to take this model and bring it to other places. If they want to abuse this, this is how you do it, okay? You take your consultants and that professional services team, and you say that the person that is coming on site must have these people present. If you do not have these people present, we cannot continue this project forward. But those people present also had to prior go through the training.
Right.
Well, that training had to critically prepare those people for when the consultant came, because now when the consultant came, it was a rapid go, go, go. I built the training program in a way that said, okay, by the time you're done with this, first, you'll be certified. Secondly, you could deploy it yourself, but you've paid for professional services.
Right.
You're going to use them. And they also have a lot more expert knowledge and scripts and everything else that they're going to provide you on top of this, which is, again, where that professional services came in. That training piece was incredible because now you also had a certification process. With that, you could say, I am Silverfort certified, and you can take that Centrify certification and use it anywhere. And the brand Centrify became so big that all of a sudden they get bought by, I think it was Deliana, or maybe that's where they are now, or whatever ends up happening. It became very, very wildly successful because you had that grounding in the pivotal professional services offering there. And again, that training side went, ooh, I can do this. And so it was an exciting jump to go from training in a dead industry to training in something that is just now starting to get interesting. Okay, this sounds fun. And it launched my love of diving in and trying to find all the loopholes, because then you can get them plugged properly.
That's awesome, and it's just like from putting on my PM hat, right? Project management hat. It's having the right people in the room who can actually make a difference, right?
Absolutely.
That's the hardest part because
every time.
Yeah.
And having that right out of the gates. Again, I respect the hell out of Kane for this because he mandated it and he was able to put it onto the sales team and say, no, you have to do this. If you sell X amount of product offering, you must purchase professional services because you expect that customer to give you money again in the future. Well, if they're not using the product, they're not going to do that. My job is to make sure that you get money again in the future. I know how to make that happen. Get all the people in the room at the same time. This is how we do it. Here's our plan. Go.
Right. Which sometimes is the exact opposite of the Department of Defense, right? They'll buy a tool. Like not to knock it. Like I did 20 years, right? I love the military, especially the Air Force. But we will buy a tool and not buy the training associated with it, or we'll decide to buy training for a tool that we don't have yet, and then go a different direction, right?
Yep.
It's like everybody has to be CCNA, but let's buy some brocade. You're like, well, they're similar.
You have to spend budget. You've got it. And another thing, I mean, I understand buckets for it, but at the same time, just because you have to spend that bucket, it doesn't mean that you spent it wisely. Shouldn't you be able to prove it was wise?
No, it's very true. So no, that's good. You're building in continuity, like you said. You're building brand, so then you can grow from there, and you're getting repeat work, which means that they're not going to replace you with a new shiny tool because they're invested. They're like, okay, we know this very well. So no, that's brilliant.
Really much so, yeah.
So, so
Again, if you want to steal info, get Kane's brain and go right at it.
it's it's a lot to unpack. I've had him on twice. I'm always learning something new, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, okay. So, what was your next stop from there?
Uh,
How did it evolve?
So from there, it was okay. Centrify wasn't going to ultimately be the end destination with training because I want money. And the reason I want money is because I like to play. I like to play hard and I like to do really crazy things like woodworking, I alluded to, and I like to make it really beautiful. That doesn't come cheap. Well, the only way that I can grow is I don't really genuinely, maybe people will, pay me to train them on all of this different stuff all the time. Well, if they do, they probably won't pay me enough. And usually that's where education is a really hard one where I want education to be more valued. It is. It is crucial that we understand a lot of problems come from lack of education. So many problems. So if we could fix the educational aspect, but oh crap, there's no real money in that, at least not what I could see at the time and how I can do it. So, how do I still use what I know, grow that, but be personable? Okay, customer success. That sounds interesting. As I started to delve into the next element, it's understanding identity in the customer success side because I've already been working with all these customers on training them. And they keep telling me, why are you just training us? Why aren't you doing this? Well, have we got consultants in? Well, yeah, can we have you in? No, it's consultant. Okay, so people are helping give me a little bit of a confidence boost saying I have the chops. So let's kind of go into that. At customer success now, I'm helping
Right.
customers maintain their environments, or I'm also doing the professional services side for the next company, Secure on that one. And so it was kind of for augmented services realistically is what it was built into.
Okay.
But it was a lot of doing the work for the customer. Yeah, you're deploying it because you know how to do it. Okay, yeah, that's professional services. Well, we need you to protect this new scope. Okay, yep, I'm augmented staff doing your, customer success. Well, why do we want to buy this product next year? Yeah, let me help you out with that. And so
Right.
I'm doing all of these different roles and going, huh, maybe I should be paid more for this. So I'm trying to find other places that are doing more for, hey, you can become our director of the customer success
Gotcha.
professional services side. That's where Silverfort came in, said, you're going to build out our division in the US. Successfully did that, as you can obviously see with their great success, having acquired another company. Unfortunately, before that success, they really determined they liked to abuse people of that caliber. Um,
Mm,
Disappointing story there is that obviously, with my vast amount of knowledge and the fact that their entire company, I was told personally by the CEO the day that they terminated me that I saved his company multiple times, but no problem. It was just they have to let people make their decisions. Okay, well, now what am I going to do? So, great news. I'm now contracting because I don't have to actually have all of the employment benefits
right.
from anything else. Great benefits being we're prior military. We kind of understand that the VA and the really good VA portions of being taken care of sometimes outweigh that need for the medical insurance or a 401k or some of that other potential, I guess, shouldering that a
Right.
company might give you the safety net for. I've also got a very wonderful spouse with solid job. So we're in a great position. Contracting says now I can start to actually get money for what a lot closer to what I truly am worth
Right.
and also have that, hey, we've got this contract. I'm going to do the hours for you. I'm going to do a damn good job while I'm doing it. And then once those hours are up, I've also had my boss say, like, guess what? You turn into a pumpkin. And I went, for real? He says, if you don't, I will turn you into one.
Gotcha.
We're both prior military. My boss and I are both prior military. Sounds good. Thank you.
Right. Right. No, I think that's a good pivot, and also a good. It's an eye opener for a lot of veterans because as they transition, right, no matter if you did 2 years or 30 years, right, you pick up benefits, and then it's a matter of like, do you understand it enough to utilize those when you get out, or you're gonna let some stuff slide and stay on the table. So for a lot of us are fortunate enough where you can bypass certain things. Like it's nice to have certain things like vision and dental is a little bit quicker if you go through a company, but healthcare is super expensive, and if you can get it,
Yeah.
as an entitlement coming out of the military, that does free you up from having to always work a 9 to 5. So that's really good that you're able to see that and then utilize and take advantage of it. Because having a 9 to 5 employer is really good for most people, but some people are able to be their own employer because they don't have to, like you said, worry about certain safety nets and things of that nature. It's provided elsewhere. There's another entitlement that you received because of your service. So
Yeah,
but
precisely. And really hitting the nail on the head there is, please, if you are a veteran or, active duty, go see the doctor for anything and everything. So that's one of the reasons that I actually have benefits today. So I had a lot of, I guess, senior NCOs that I didn't value as much as I potentially could have. And they said, well, if you're sick today, you can't take your day off. You have to go to the doctor. And you served in the military 20 years. Is that what happens at every base, everywhere you go? If you're sick, I'll see you tomorrow, unless there's a mission critical thing going on, right? Not here. I was not allowed to just take a sick day. But again, beneficially speaking, I look back and I say that created documentation. And as a result, there is every single thing documented. I had a ankle sprain that bugs me to this day. My back issues that bug me to this day. Well, I was forced to go to the doctor even on something that seemed very minor. It was documented, and now you're easy to go. With that, there's also a lot of services out there that will help veterans file for these things. So please do those things. It takes a long time, but it's worth it.
no, absolutely. I always talk to people and tell them, like you say, they get everything documented, but also something that seems minor when you're 20 does not feel the same when you're 60, right? So I've had a family member, you shatter a collarbone, or you have a broken pelvis, or you have, like you said, a sprain or something like that. In your 20s, you just shake it off. You're like, oh, I'm fine. But yeah, just think about one day you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, I don't know what I did in my sleep, but
Like
I'm
right now, I've
thriving
got
in pain.
elbow pain right now. It's documented and I'm getting help for it.
So yeah,
It's,
definitely document everything,
yeah,
because you'll thank yourself later when you do wake up and you're like, what did I do to myself?
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
But so, okay, so you decide to go the contracting route, which again, from the way you described it, that's a, a very good transition for you because you have all these skills. Now you have the confidence to go with it, and now you're functioning within that realm. Are you still in contracting?
So yes, I'm still contracting, and I'm also looking to grow out lots and lots of different business endeavors. So we kind of alluded to some of these different things. I'm not going to steal thunder or anything, and announce names of channels unless you say or something. What I've ultimately
Oh, feel free. You
done.
can plug
Oh,
anybody you
okay,
want
okay.
to.
So I'm divergent as hell, as you can tell. I'm neurodivergent, ADHD, autistic, and all the fun things. It doesn't necessarily look like it all the time, but it's there. So living divergent is kind of what I'm trying to do for myself. I'm going to do everything. And well, because that's me, and all our cool domain stuff allows you to, I've got livingdivergent.me that eventually I'm going to build out as my umbrella brand because it does everything. I'm woodworking. I do mythic masterpieces. That's my woodworking side of the stuff. It's on
Awesome.
Instagram right now, which it's about to go under the name change to the Living Divergent thing. But so great. What all of this does it mean though? Because there's every aspect of what I do. I'm detail oriented because of the military. So I'm going to do home inspections. I'm going to be Inspector Caldad. Hold on. Let's see. We've got the no, Inspector Caldad.
Right. We're gonna get
Oh,
copyright strike for that.
oh, guess what? Guess what? I looked it up on purpose. On purpose. That is a jingle created for a comedy sketch and it is fully open.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
public domain. I went,
Gotcha.
yes, as long as I don't start to go off of, the hat and stuff, which I don't want.
Right.
I've got a tool belt, magnifying glass, and my little pal Leroy Jenkins.
You go. There you go.
Yes. He's going to go running into crawl spaces, okay? And we're going to abuse the hell out of the marketing campaign on that. Because again, all of these different ideas that I have going on to where's my space going? I'm going to try using the contracting platform and still cybersecurity understanding as a steady baseline until everything else builds up where I want it to be. Podcasting and YouTube videos of the woodworking and remodeling and teaching people all these different things because again, what I've kind of started to discover is myself, I am able to do anything. And no matter what, I have always put in 110% because that's what I've been told to do. Well, guess what? When 110% goes to a company and not me, what is me left over with? And it's really burned me. So we're changing that. We're putting 110% into me, gambling a lot. And then I went, hold on, wait. I have to maintain my control. I have to be calm and collected for other companies for the benefit of their growth. I could do that for me. Okay. So throughout what I'm doing is I've got the stability, but I'm also trying to announce to other people things that I see, such as all the problems in the cybersecurity industry that I can not only predict, but show that's going to be a breach. Why are you not looking at this? And I've tried to contact people. I've tried to contact big people and everyone ignores it. Okay, I don't want to be breached, so I'm going to start pulling my stuff out of that place. TikTok, huge discussion item. I love this one. Everyone's all upset about TikTok. And are you and I on the same page of why TikTok's so horrible and yet nobody knows?
I think so. So we've had multiple conversations on the podcast. It's a matter of what they're not telling us, right? There's
Do you know what they're
enough.
not telling us?
I was gonna say there's enough intelligence to to broadcast like, hey, they're able to siphon information, use it against us, do psyops, things of that nature. But that's really hard to tell a teenager, right? Because they don't really care about
No.
tomorrow and how this information can be used against them. They're more like, I just want to do a cool dance and make a few dollars.
Precisely.
So
yeah. So everyone is currently focused upon the what it seems like and the smoke and mirrors when ultimately from a core level it copies your clipboard. And what does your clipboard contain every single time you sign into anything? Your username, your password. Guess what? Every single time your clipboard went through and TikTok was open on the phone, compromise and huge problems. And everyone wants to go, oh, that's no big deal. And my cybersecurity brain goes, that's the identity space being screwed up. What I told you I could have prevented with this company, and this company, if they'd all just work together as brain powers to fix things. That wouldn't make money.
So they're going to the Supreme Court. Like this is a tangent,
Yeah,
but they're going to go to the
absolutely.
Supreme Court. It's not going to work out for them. They're going to either divest or you're going to have to go away. Canada's already pushed them off of on-prem, right? They already said you have to pack up your bags, you have to get off of our soil. So it's only a matter of time. Why? Because you are a collection apparatus. But again, the demographic doesn't really care about that, right? They want to do their dances, they want to make their money. So it's
It's
really
a
hard
war.
to.
We are in the middle of a war right now, a genuine, legitimate war, but it's over data. And people don't understand how critical that data is.
Data is the new gold, and people are just like, I'm willing to sacrifice my data for a free product, right? Because it's the same thing when it comes to Facebook and things of other nature, right? Like, I don't pay for it, so that means that I am the product.
Yep.
Nothing is free.
You're not
But
wrong.
people don't want to hear that though. There's like
No.
I want to watch funny cat videos.
Yep.
Why are you getting
And,
away with my funny cat videos?
and yet we also have to interact with those platforms if we want to grow or engage with an audience. And it's that double-edged sword of how do you protect yourself while also being in that space then?
It's very true. And I think it's going to come to a head, right? Like, so like TikTok will go away early next year, and then we'll see what the fallout is. Those people, all they're going to do is just move back to platform, right? They're going to be on Meta, they're going to be back on Instagram, whatever. Whoever decides to stand up a new platform, they'll go there.
Let's be real. Politically speaking, I hate politics, and we're not going to bring it in so much ways, but there's been a promise that they'll bring TikTok back, right? Well, how are they going to do that? Well, Elon is also talking about building stuff in Texas and server farms, and all they're going to do is move the server farm to Texas. Well, that's if they can convince them to do it. Well, money speaks. Guess what? I think that's going to happen, but maybe it's not going to be right away, though. There is going to be the ban. They're going to feel it, and then it'll happen, though.
Yeah, so I can envision that. I can see that being, and then it'll be used to posture, right? It'll be like it's a victory for America,
Right?
whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Billionaires just got richer. That's
Absolutely. There's nobody else being, advantaged by this other than people who are way richer than we ever will be.
It's very true. It's a very true statement. So to veer back out of the
road, back on.
so you're doing a lot, right? Like with the umbrella website, with your current what am I trying to say? Your current initiatives within cybersecurity, as well as your hobbies and passions. You're also going to pull those in, right, to create content and things of that nature.
Absolutely.
So ultimately, what do you want it to look like? Like, what is your 5-year plan?
So, golly, the 5-year plan I would love to work on. There's a few aspects. By the end of 2025, I want to have a reliable source of steady income that is purely based on my own capability to sell myself as an entity, whatever that means, whether it be through all of the specific hobbies that I have, because my neurodivergence says you're too all over the place. Just enjoy it, and people will also enjoy you. Or
Gotcha.
some sort of steady employment that's still in that contract space that says, we want you for what you know because you know it, and we also understand you and I both need our limits with each other. So let's go that route, but also let's have, additional sources of income and beyond. That beyond is I don't want anyone else to have to really pay me unless they want to. And they want to pay me because what I offer is so enticing that they can't get it anywhere else. Again, spoke to detail-oriented home inspections. Why would you call dad? Wait a second. Everyone calls their dad when they need help, advice, honest truth. Well, home inspectors, when you go to purchase a home, why do you buy one? Why do you get a home inspector? Because the realtor says to. How many people are buying homes? Tough one right there. But every single person that buys a home does a home inspector because that's what the realtor says. And then it gets into a cluster. The realtors get mad because it's now used to crash their deals. The people that are selling the house are mad because they've had all the faults shown. And the people that are buying the house don't want to buy an ugly baby. Crap, everyone's mad. Call dad. Dad knows how to make this situation better, okay? Dad is going to come in and say, first, you are getting a home inspection from me. I'm really detail-oriented, and I want to know something from you first. How long do you want to live in this house? Forever. Okay. I understand that you want to live in this house forever. Realistically speaking, that's not the truth. You are what age? And be able to help determine their age, because I'm also detail-oriented enough to know if they're 60, they probably do want that home forever, and they probably do want me to be an absolute asshole in my inspection because they want to know every problem that they will experience in that home. But 20-year-old, they do not want that home forever. They want to be the little one that goes in there and says, this is wrong, and what will break in that 5 to 7 year average. My job as that home inspector is call dad. I'm going to be that person that gives the right advice and do the inspection the same way every time. But the advice that I provide is based on what you told me you wanted to see. And by the end of it, you're going to be happy. 6 months later, there's follow-up. hey, by the way, here was the home inspection. Here's what we had identified. Here's things that you might want to address because the house is this old. And if you
Right.
don't, it might cost you this much over these years. Because I'm not there as me personally. I hate being that one person that says, I paid something to this person and never saw them again.
Right.
Why would I ever want to see that person in the future? I want to be the trusted person. And in all cases, I've done that. My cybersecurity career, I've saved corporations from being in the news. I can call up personal favors and say, hey, can you be my reference? Why am I not using that to my advantage? Well, I will. And over these next 5 years is kind of that progress towards it.
Gotcha. That's awesome, and it's cool to see that you have so many talents, right? Like you're able to do X and Y and Z, and then kind of tie them all together and use your genuine personality, right?
Thank you.
Um,
I
so
appreciate that.
yeah, no problem. I think the naming convention is clever. I think it's also a good spotlight for people who are also neurodivergent, right? So they
Absolutely.
can then look at you as a model of, okay, this is I now have more
Thank
courage
you.
to do X or
Thank you.
Y or Z. So no, I
You
think
see it,
that's
and
really
I don't
cool.
even have to explain it, and that means so much. Genuinely, thank
No,
you.
that's awesome. Yeah, I work with a website called Repton Tech, and the lady who's in charge, she's a doctor who also likes to showcase her talents, and she does talk about her neurodiversity as well. So I think that it's not that spotlight's not shined enough on that, right? And in the military, we're a melting pot, so you see people of all walks of life and talents and what have you. And then when you come out to civilian sector, a lot of that stuff is just not as exposed
No.
as you would like.
Oh man.
So and I keep saying Dr. Teresa, Dr. T.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but so like I think your platform is awesome for doing that, for showcasing, highlighting, and spotlighting, and I think yours will be as well because I don't think there's enough of that. Like same thing with the platform, right? So there's not a lot of people of color in cybersecurity. It's not a lot
No.
of women in cybersecurity, and so on and so forth. It's not
And
representative of the
I
population.
see them being blocked, and it frustrates me to hell because a lot of times there's such a quality candidate available, and it doesn't matter where you're from. I don't care. If I see where the quality is, I'm going to use that. And that's something that the military taught us. It doesn't matter what that person looks like. If you see the quality of their character and you accept that, they will always work for you at their best and you treat them the best.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I think a lot of this will grow and it will mature, and it's because of people like yourself, right? Who say like, okay, how can I turn this into, how can I treat myself like a business as opposed to me working for a business and helping them grow? Which nothing wrong with that for people who do want a
Yeah,
nine to
yeah,
five, right?
absolutely.
But because we have specific talents and training as well as benefits, we're able to kind of pioneer new paths, right? That other people are not able to do as easily because they might need the safety net and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So no, I think
I think a
it's
lot of
very
it for
solid.
me, I'll just be real honest, is the fact that I am neurodivergent and the corporations that I've worked for have not been reliably, consistently loyal back. And
Gotcha.
that's what I've wanted to be. And I don't accept that that's not right. And so a lot of times you'll see these people who have been employed with companies for a very long time. If that works, please stay with that. I can't do that. And I tried at multiple places and I'm really hurt that I couldn't.
Right. No, and it's good that you're able to just get back up, dust yourself off, and then think of a new path. Because some people get discouraged and then they kind of get beaten down by it, right? So again, it's that being a role model, and then people will gravitate towards that, and then hopefully be able to gain success from seeing you be successful.
Thank you.
So no worries at all. So thank you for coming to the show. But before I land this plane, I always like to land on what are you doing outside of work, right? Like what media you're consuming, books you're reading, movies you're watching, games you're
All
playing, any of
right.
that stuff. Like what do you do to unwind
My word. We're in a terrible category because every single thing that I start to enjoy, I turn into work.
into work?
It's
Got you.
horrible. It is ridiculous. So we recently moved to West Virginia and my word, love it to death. Almost heaven. If people don't believe it, we don't want you here. That's okay. Thank you. But it is for me and I love that. Well, in that move, there was a ton of chaos. And so I don't really have a lot of consistency in the things that I enjoy. But I'm working towards those things, being Cyberpunk 2077 is a video game. Quite a fun one, right? I kind of jump into the Fallout 4 stuff, right? But if I'm not doing that, then, well, I'm trying to get my fish tanks set up because I unfortunately lost all of the coral on the way here. Not going to mention the realtor and how that hurt. But yes, we're talking a 150-gallon saltwater reef tank of beauty. Well, I'm going to get that set up. I've also got room in the basement for a sump so that it can...
Okay.
So saltwater reefing, right? We got woodworking going in the garage, and yeah, it's a hobby, but I'm also using it to rebuild the entire house at such an insane level because I'm integrating tech into it. Well, all the smart home tech. And again, talking about enterprise grade, well, I've segmented everything off. Crap, I'm supposed to be enjoying this, not working. So, books though, too. Ready Player One. Have you listened to that book?
So not yet. I messed up. So I saw the movie.
No.
I really enjoyed it.
Please,
and now I need to go back to the book because it's always, I want to always read the book before I watch the movie. So I watch the movie.
And a lot of people do. Please absolutely enjoy Ready Player One as a movie. Okay. Do not connect it to the book though. Please separate them in your mind, and please, for everything good and holy, everyone who loves cybersecurity has some nerd in them, okay?
Yeah.
Will Wheaton reads or narrates this book.
Okay.
I cannot emphasize how impressive this was because it shifted my life. And I mean this in a good way. I used to not be able to sit down and read books very long, neurodivergence, but while I'm up and doing things, I can, as long as it's an audiobook. Well, I was listening to Mark Rober, which, oh, by the way, on YouTube, my entertainment and boredom is YouTube, Mark Rober, Smarter Every Day. And for a long time, it was the king of random. Directions changed, but still had a ton of awesome stuff where I learned, okay? But you go with those channels, Crunch Labs, you're going to be like one of the smartest people in the room. It's awesome. Anywho, so taking all of these things together, and see, where was I going with this? There's the neurodivergence kicking in.
It's all good. But we're kind of on a ride, right? When it was coming to what you do for your hobbies and how your hobbies are turning into work.
Absolutely. It genuinely doesn't matter because every time I do, it becomes something that I can turn into work or turn into something to sell myself, to display that I have this talent. I'm not only good at it, but I'm also exceptional at it because I refuse to not have that detail eye, to accept subpar. Too many times we see that. And so when it comes to my hobbies, it's also, I don't get to really enjoy my hobby to the level that I'd like to because I can't afford the tools that make that hobby enjoyable either. So now I have to build the tools to make that hobby enjoyable. And when I build those tools, they're at the exceptional levels. And then I start to enjoy that hobby. And then I also make the world around me more beautiful because it all goes into that, the way that I am.
No, that's awesome. Again, thank you for coming on the show and for having a conversation with me.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Kane for making this connection.
Yes,
right?
Thank you.
And I definitely have to get you back on the show to dive more into what you're doing. And as those initiatives grow, I want to also keep up with you.
Yeah, that would be awesome, especially when you're talking about Dr. T on here as well. Something I was going to get into here quickly is for a much longer plan, we're talking, this is also based on the hobbies, is that I have a bleeding heart / empathy layer that is on another level, and it comes from that neurodivergence.
Gotcha.
Well, in losing all of my coral, which was gut-wrenching beyond all belief, I was also very well aware of how long it took to grow all of it, how hard it was. And I became aware of just how important it was in my hobby. And now you start to see more of these things about the coral reefs in the world and how our world is more in effect and what I can do to help that. I also know that nobody's going to listen to somebody who's just this little piddly, person that's angry at the world, or sometimes they do, but their platforms aren't the ones that I want to build from. And so I'm building an ugly, difficult one, but I want the world to be a better place with neurodivergence and showing people things like, hey, by the way, I'm not going to force you to go out and be a savior to the coral reefs. But if I can get you engaged and get you to enjoy coral reefing with me,
Right.
maybe that'll have an impact and you'll go, crap, I'm actually having an effect on the coral reefs and I need to change that. And so being able to take that neurodivergence, grow it out, have a larger effect on the world. Also, crazy part of this is, super, super long-term goal is, I kind of discussed that, or maybe Kane had alluded to it, is having a safe haven for neurodivergence, or it doesn't have to be, but ultimately that safe haven that says somebody's always going to be awake because it's run by a bunch of neurodivergents. 3 a.m., somebody's up doing something.
Gotcha.
You're beaten, you're broken, you're battered, tired. There's something going on. Somebody doesn't believe you because it's a terrible world out there and there's some messed up stuff. I want there to be a safe place for those people to come, whatever help they need to move past and get acclimated into a more difficult world. And then, oh, by the way, if they ever have to come back, well, I consider this the first stay is free program. The first stay, you don't have to pay for anything, no insurance, whatever it may be. The second one, you're not even admitting defeat. You're saying that the world sucks. You're coming back here to be part of that environment and help grow and support the other neurodivergents or other battered, broken people who are coming in. And now all of a sudden, it's people helping people.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So love to, get on board because I know that it's also going to require a lot more mind power than I have my own.
Got you. No, that's an awesome initiative. So we definitely have to keep in touch so I can learn more about that. And then perhaps I have some connections that could help out. But I have to land this plane. So
yeah, absolutely.
definitely continue to tune in. Monday, Tuesday, our topics. Wednesday, discussion. Thursdays, ask a CISSP, just like this, where I talk to someone who is moving, shaking, glass ceiling breaking, and all the above within the career field that we call cybersecurity. And then Fridays, everything else. So movies, books, games, all that non-cybersecurity related things. Hit up all the websites that go by the name, The Other Side of the Firewall, The Other Side of the FW, or Ask CISSP. You can find me at Right Security Guy pretty much on every platform. And where can they find you, Mark?
Mythic Masterpieces or Living Divergent on Instagram, and Mark Christian or M Christian on LinkedIn. Those are the only places that I really have connected currently. MythicMasterpieces.com is out there, and it's a interface for some of these other things. But we're growing out, and more names are connecting soon. LivingDivergent.me ultimately. I really appreciate you having me, Ryan.
No worries. Stay safe. Stay secure.
You as well. Thanks.